So I have a question for you. Is it true that most people don't have a money problem? Well, you might say yes, you might say no. Everybody has their own different situation and circumstance. But I would say that the answer to that question is partially true or is partly true. And so the reason why I say that is because the idea that most people don't have a money problem usually comes from the personal development circles. But what they're really trying to say is for many people, the issue isn't just income, but it's behavior and it's habits and it's decisions. So you are a sum total of your life experiences and your behaviors and your decisions and your habits. So but taken literally, I wouldn't say that that's accurate. And the reason why, because the reality is this, and let's just look at it in a practical view. So a lot of people, they do have real money constraints, such as low income, relative to cost of living, of course, because everything has increased so much, and wages have not outpaced inflation. And so the cost of everything keeps going up higher and higher. And most people are not getting like for example, food has risen, I think, or increased like 20 to 30% in the last year. Now, has your salary increased 20 to 30%? Most of the people who I'm talking to, the answer is no. At best, most people get, the average person that is working a 9 to 5, they may get about 3 to 5% increase a year, annual increase. But anyway, so the reality is that a lot of people, they do have money constraints, and such as low income, they have debt burdens, which is credit cards, student loans, and medical bills. A lot of people also have lack of access to higher paying opportunities, and a lot of people, and the reason why they have that lack of access to higher paying opportunities because they don't have the skills, they don't have the value that they need to bring to the marketplace, because the marketplace is only going to pay you incommensurate to the value that you bring to that marketplace. So, in other words, the more valuable you are to the marketplace, then the more income you will make. So, another thing is that there's economic factors involved that are many times outside of their control. So, with those things, I would not say that I wouldn't say that you necessarily have a money problem, but it's just a lot of different contributing factors. The money problem is generally the end result of something initially going back to those habits and decisions that you've made in life and the behaviors that you've had, and even the lack of education, um, lack of discipline, things of those sorts. So, um, but for those people who say that they don't have a money problem, they tend to ignore some of the realities. And so, um, what I would go as far as to say here is that um, where the statement does have truth is this. So, there's a huge group of people who earn decent money, and but they still live paycheck to paycheck, and they overspend and undersave, or they mismanage the money. So it's not how much money that you earn, it's how much you keep of what you actually earn. So the majority of my life, I have never really been a very high income earner. But what I have always did was track my expenses and managed what I made and lived below my means. And I have invested wisely. And the average person, and I also have which whenever I total all that up, that gives me a high savings rate. So you don't necessarily have to make or earn a lot of money, but what you have to do is have a high savings rate. Because, so let me say this again though, as far as it's not what you earn or what you make, it's what you do with that money that you make. Now that determines all the difference. So that is huge right there. That caused me to live the life that I want to live and have the freedom and flexibility that I want to have, even at this stage in life. Technically, I was free to do whatever I want. Retired probably about 5 years ago is when I was really truly free to kind of do what I want. I continued to work a job, but I didn't have to work a job if I didn't want to. And there's something to be said about when you have to, whenever you don't have to get up and go to work anymore if you don't want to. I force myself and put myself in certain positions because I'm a disciplined person. And so I always put myself in uncomfortable positions and adapt and adjust to those situations. It's one of the things that the military taught me, adapt and overcome. And so that has been ingrained in me. But so there's a large group of people who they earn decent money, but they still live paycheck to paycheck, like I was saying before, and they overspend, undersave, and they mismanage their money. So, but in those cases, it's not a money shortage problem, it's a spending problem, and it's also a discipline problem. I use that word discipline, like I said it earlier. Planning problem, that's another biggie. Because a lot of times people they just kind of just live life on autopilot. And like the old saying goes, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And we've heard it so many times that it's kind of like water off a duck's back, but you really have to plan. Things are just not going to just happen on accident. You're not going to just get rich or get wealthy just by osmosis or just by accident. Just like you're not going to just lose weight by accident. It just doesn't work like that. You're going to have to put time, effort, and energy into what you're doing. And that encompasses a plan. So if it's anything you want to do in life, you got to have a plan for it. So if not, then just by default, you're going to fail. The other thing is that there's a mindset problem. So let me just give you all four of these again, just to provide continuity of thought. So instead of people having a money shortage problem, they have these four problems. It's either a spending problem, a discipline problem, a planning problem, and or a mindset problem. And really, it all starts in the mind. So if I were you, I would work on your mind. Because whenever I first started out in my journey, I didn't really get serious about what I was doing until a little bit later in life, as far as where am I going and what am I doing. But I've always been a forward thinking person. So another thing the military has taught me is always have a contingency plan. So I'm always thinking ahead of time so I don't never get caught off guard. And I don't care in what situation I'm in. I am always prepared for it. That's because I'm always forward thinking. Always have a contingency plan, something that's going to be in case this doesn't work out like this, then I got something else going on. Just always been like that. And I'm thankful and grateful that I even have that mindset because a lot of people don't even have that mindset that they're just going on autopilot and you can't live life like that. So, uh, a more accurate version of the statement um, is a better way to say it would be many people just don't have a money problem, but they have a money management problem. Let me say that again. Most people don't have a money problem. What they have is a money management problem. Well, why is that? Because most people make enough money, but they don't do what they're supposed to do with the money. And what do you mean by that? They live well beyond their means. If you make this much, you're living up this much, you're living this high. No, 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 no. If you're making this much, you need to be living about this much, really. Not even this much. You need to be living well below your means. And I don't care if you make $500,000 a year or if you make $100. It doesn't really matter. And you might say, well, you can't afford to live on less because you're already living lean. Well, I'll say it like this: if it's important enough for you, you'll do it. You will figure out a way. I'm going to tell you one harsh reality that some people probably never said to you and to me, that nobody's coming to save you. You're going to have to save yourself. We're living in a date and time where um, the real people are going to have to rise up. You're going to have to reach deep inside yourself and find out who you really are and figure out who you really are and have some grit about yourself. Some people think that these are tough times, but these are not tough times compared to what's going to probably come down the road. And people are, all you have to do is just look around and you can just see that things are not going well. And not just because of the present conflict in Iran and things of that sort, and gas prices at $4 and everything is increasing in price, but just things in general. I've asked so many different strangers, how do you see um, the world, or what is your outlook on the world? Do you think things are getting better or worse? Every single person said worse. But that's why you need to make more money. And that's because when you make more money, then you'll have more freedom to do the things you need to do. But not only do the things you want to do, but also to help other people. Because once you get to the level that you're making money outside of your own needs, then you can help other people and bring them up. So, um, but the deeper truth, and this is where your mindset and your focus fits into place, is the income problem. Your income problem is that you don't have enough income coming in. Well, how do you fix that? Like I said, you got to increase your income. There are so many different ways out there. Google is your friend. If you can't figure it out, just get on Google and just start inputting information, ways that I can make, practical ways I can make income within the next week or even today. If you need money today, there are places that you can work today and get paid today, temporary agencies. There's online work. You can fill out surveys and make money. Um, Freelance, whatever skill you have, and everyone has some sort of a skill. And even if you don't know what that skill is, uh, whatever job you're doing right now, if you have a job, uh, you have some sort of a skill because an employer has saw a certain amount of value in you to even hire you. If you don't know your skill, ask some of your family or some of your friends what do they think that you're good at? Because sometimes you can't see the picture because you are in the frame. What does that mean? It means that sometimes we can't see ourselves because we just naturally do whatever we're doing and we don't even realize we're doing it because that's just what we do. Some people are just naturally, everybody is good at something. God has given every single person on this earth a gift. And I would venture to say many gifts, not just one. But it's up to us to recognize it and cultivate it and um, market it and develop it. But that's something that we have to do. So, um, another thing besides the income problem is the behavior problem. So, money comes in, but it's not handled well. So, uh, you don't have an income problem, you have a behavior problem many times. It's what you do with that money that you make that makes a big difference. So even high performers and people who are focused on growth, they tend to ask things like, how do I increase my income and improve discipline at the same time. Um, so here's a question that I would ask you to ask yourself. How can I make the most money in the least amount of time and the least amount of effort? Let me say that again. How can I make the most money in the least amount of time and the least amount of effort? That forces you, whenever you ask your brain and ask yourself, how can I do something? Your mind has to go into some sort of creation mode. I'm a creative person by nature, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful to God. I give God the glory for that. And so you could just set me anywhere and I will be able to adapt and adjust to it. I will be able to create something out of it. Set me in the middle of a desert and I'll be able to make money doing something. Selling sand, um, trying to sell a cactus, uh, uh, selling selling a pet scorpion or whatever the case is. But the bottom line is that I I know how to make some money, and I don't take it for granted because some people don't know how. But what they don't realize is that it's their mindset. The mind is the thing that you really have to work on, because this is the battleground right here, and this is also the factory that creates everything. So the bottom line is this: it's not true that most people don't have a money problem, but it is true that many people's problems, they aren't solved by money alone. So money will never solve your problems. Money will solve what money can solve. Let me say that again. Money can solve only what money can solve. Well, what does that mean? Money only solves money problems. If you have a bad attitude, money's not going to solve that. If you have bad habits, money's not going to solve that. If you are selfish and disrespectful to people, money's not going to solve that. So, those are some things that you need to think about when it comes to, who you are and how you think about money, and so forth and so on. So, if you want, um, and you like this type of content, just like and subscribe and leave me a comment below and tell me what you think about the video. And I'm going to be talking about, because the channel obviously is called Make Money, Make Money. And so I'm going to be talking about ways to make money, but I'm also going to be talking about mindset and self-development and investing and things of that sort. And I'm going to throw in some spiritual growth in there also, because what good is it to have a lot of money and you don't know how to invest it? You don't know how to manage it. You don't know how to spend it. And you don't have and on top of that, you don't have your health. What good is money? And on top of all that, your spiritual health, which is the most important. So those are some things that I'm going to be talking about on this channel. I'm going to probably be interviewing some people also. So I might be in the public, I might be in the car, I might be in the kitchen, I might be a little bit of everywhere. But I just want to, my thoughts are I want to talk about how to make money, but money is not the goal here. Always remember that money is not the goal. So what is the goal is to live a full life, live the life that you want to live and the freedom that you want to have, because that's what real wealth is. But most people are interested in making money, and that's all fine and good because, we do need it. We do need money in this life. And I realize that, but it's not the most important thing. So I will leave you with that, and like, comment, and share, and I will see you on the next video.